Alright guys, we're back with some more fantasy baseball content, and in this video, I'm going to tell you about 5 starting pitchers I think are going to break out over the second half of this season. The longer this season goes, the more the injuries stack up. I know a lot of you guys out there are looking for starting pitching help with your teams, especially you guys out there playing in head-to-head or points-based leagues, because the way to win those championships are to align as many really good starting pitchers as possible before you do get to your playoff matchups. So in this video again, 5 starting pitchers I think will break out in the second half, along with a bunch of honorable mentions at the end for some of you guys that play in deeper leagues. But quickly, before we get into it, please go down there and click that big black subscribe button so you don't miss any of the great new videos coming out on the channel. I set my new big subscriber goal for 7,000 subs by the end of July. I know it's very soon, only about 10 days away, but so many of you guys subscribed after the last video. That was the 5 hitter breakouts for the second half of the season. This weekend, I'm going to have another waiver wire video. I'm going to rank my relievers. I'm going to do my monthly starting pitcher ranking soon, rating and reviewing your guys' teams. And then after the trade deadline, I think I'm also going to do a nice trade deadline recap telling you about which players gained and lost value because of the trades that were made in the league. So again, if you guys don't want to miss any of the great videos coming out on this channel, please go down there and click that big black subscribe button. But now let's get into it. The first pitcher I want to talk about is Zebby Matthews from the Twins. Matthews has a lot going for him right now that makes me think he can really be an impact starter the rest of the season. Something like a top 25, top 30 starting pitcher in all of fantasy baseball from this point forward. Zebby has been really overlooked though to this point in the season. I'm going to tell you guys why right now. First off, the Twins had him start the season down in AAA, and while he was down there, he wasn't just pitching very much. He was throwing 3 or 4 innings at a time. It was really weird. Then they finally did call him up to the big league squad in mid-May, and even those first couple of starts, again, he was pitching 3 or 4 innings. So if any guy's pitching 3 or 4 innings, you're not very fantasy viable. After that, they did extend him. He threw 7 and 6 innings in his next 2 starts at the major league level, but he was not able to keep runs off the board despite striking a lot of batters out and not walking many. And then after that 4th start, he strained his shoulder, and then he went on the injured list for about 6 or 7 weeks. And when he did go on the injured list, his ERA was 5.21 over 19 innings. So again, he just didn't really feel like a feasible option for this season, possibly. Then about a week and a half ago, just before the All-Star break, he made 1 rehab start and looked completely ridiculously amazing. He only threw 4 innings, again, at AAA with St. Paul, but he struck out 9 batters, got his fastball at 99 miles per hour, and that thing also sat between 97 and 98 over the 56 pitches he threw in that start. On top of that, he forced 15 total swings and misses, and 8 of those came on his slider, which is really his out pitch. Really just nice hard slider he's got. Also kind of funny, you might be like, all right, I don't really care about the results in a rehab start. While Matthews pitched those 4 shutout innings with 9 strikeouts, his bullpen gave up 8 runs over the rest of that game. So that was a AAA Cubs lineup that could actually hit a little bit. Generally, in a situation like that, when a pitcher has missed a month and a half and they only threw 1 rehab start and only got to 56 pitches in that 1 rehab start, you're expecting more rehab starts after that. But the Twins' rotation is kind of in shambles right now. It's really just Joe Ryan trying to hold the whole thing together with duct tape by himself. No Bailey Ober, no Pablo Lopez. Simeon Woods-Richardson, not very good. Chris Paddock, not very good. David Festa, really up and down moments. They needed Zebby Matthews back as soon as they could just to eat some innings and be more functional than the guys they had in there anyway. So that's great because right after the All-Star break, the Twins activated him to rejoin their rotation. But the flip side of that, kind of bad, they activated him for a start in Coors Field where he got hit hard again, allowing 5 runs over 4 innings and only getting up to 77 pitches. But that 77 pitches to 56 pitches, that is a progression that did make sense. But I will say to all of us out there playing fantasy baseball, I think that first start coming back for Zebby in Coors Field and giving up a bunch of runs, setting his ERA over 6, is kind of a blessing in disguise for all of us. Because still in that start, he struck out 6, he only walked 1, plus his velocity was still high, just like it was in that rehab start in AAA, so I think we can say for certainty that Zebby Matthews is healthy right now. But honestly, when you put it all together now and kind of take everything that Zebby's done at the major league level this season, I know the ERA is over 6, and that's ugly, that will turn some people away. That's a great time for all of us to buy in. Because his Sierra, which is the Skills Interactive ERA, it takes your strikeouts, your walks, and the quality of balls in play that are put against you by opponents, and then puts it back into a number that looks like an ERA. It's 3.32. Far cry from the 6.21 that it is normally. Also, Zebby's strikeout minus walk rate is over 20%, which is a benchmark for a really elite pitcher. The stuff, again, still looks great. That fastball sitting in the upper 90s has pretty good shape, missing bats. That slider just has great hard movement on it. Amazing bite. He commands it well. Plus, he also has a good cutter and a changeup. Just to give the lefties one more thing to think about, Zebby was a former very high prospect. He has a guaranteed spot in his rotation. He looks very healthy. And again, everything we've seen under the hood from him tells us that 6.21 ERA isn't really real and that's not going to last. Pick up Zebby Matthews right now. I think he's totally ready for a really big second half. Next, we have a very different type of second half breakout. It's veteran pitcher Dylan Cease from the Padres. I think Dylan Cease is as good of a lock as you could possibly have for someone that's going to put a poor first half behind them, and steamroll past for a really good second half of the season. In fact, this is probably your last chance to buy in on Cease, because he did just have a great start coming out of the All-Star break, but then he just got hit really hard by the Marlins. His ERA spiked back up to 4.59. So right now, while you're listening to this video, just do the picture-in-picture, go to your league, start offering some trades. If someone drops him, pick him up as soon as you possibly can, even though I doubt that happened. But again, I can't emphasize enough, get Cease on your teams as soon as possible, because while those surface level stats are bad, everything with him under the hood is 100% fine. Totally in line with the pitcher that Cease has always been, and I think will continue to be. First off, he's still generating tons of strikeouts, right around 30% right now. That's pushing right up against his career best. He's also not walking many hitters at all. One of the biggest bugaboos for Cease during his career. Right now, his walk rate's only 8.4%. That would be the lowest of his entire career in a full major league season. His velocity is still high. He's forcing tons of swings and misses with both his fastball and his slider. The batted ball metrics against him are basically exactly the same as they were last year. He did try to do that weird changeup thing during April. I told you guys about that in a lot of videos, especially all the pitcher rankings, where he just brought this chaos changeup out for nowhere, because I think Dylan Cease has always wanted another weapon against left-handed batters because he's so fastball slider dependent. But he started throwing that changeup and no one knew where it was going, including Cease himself. So he trashed that, all good. That's in the rearview mirror now. But really, at the end of the day, Cease is just getting very, very unlucky on the balls in play against him. First of all, batters have a 325 batting average on balls in play against Cease. That's one of the highest marks in the entire league. And this is a really funny caveat. I got deep in the weeds for this one. Cease has given up some of the cheapest home runs in all of Major League Baseball so far this season. He's given up 7 home runs that have traveled 375 feet or fewer. Only Ryan Pepio and Tanner Bybee have allowed more home runs with that short of a distance. And even crazier than that, he's given up 3 home runs that have been hit 355 feet or fewer. That's basically Little League home runs. No pitcher has allowed more than 3 home runs like that in the league. And just watching these back right now, some of these home runs are so cheap. These are real first row wall scraper type of shots. As that little bit of bad luck cleans up, Cease will continue to be just fine. He's also made a couple adjustments over the last few months that I like a lot. He's leaned way harder into his fastball against left-handed batters, and I like Cease doing that because he, again, really throws mostly just that fastball and slider. And he's a guy whose command can really kind of wax and wane. So if he loses command of one of those pitches, especially when against lefties, he was kind of often being a primary slider guy. If you can't command that slider, they know you only have 2 pitches. They know the one's coming, that's the fastball. So now using that fastball more early in the count, again, since kind of the middle of May, helps him get ahead more and keep those hitters guessing as much as they possibly can against a 2-pitch pitcher like him. The buy window may be closing on Cease, but even if you think it is, just start offering some trades for him. Even if you're not trying to buy low anymore, at equal value, because I think you're getting just like the guy we drafted to be, a top 20, top 15 pitcher in the entire league from right now to the end of the season. Next up, we have Chase Burns, starting pitcher on the Reds. And guys, this one is going to take the most projection because Burns has a 6.65 ERA through 5 career starts, but this is a pure bet on stuff, talent, pedigree, because that's what Burns has. Because in terms of all that, I don't know which pitcher in the league has more going for them right now, again, in terms of stuff, talent, pedigree, than Burns. But at the same time, he is very, very raw, just being drafted last season by the Reds, already up in the major leagues. He's kind of right now like a puppy that's getting stronger, but you haven't really finished training it yet, and it's kind of too strong for its own good and kind of runs around and gets reckless. Sometimes it's really great, sometimes all over the place. Maybe a weird metaphor, but that's kind of how I see Burns right now as a big leaguer. Because the stuff is just so obscene. It's a fastball that's 98, 99, 100 miles per hour with plus cut and plus ride on it, missing bats in the zone. It's a low 90s slider that's just completely gross, effective against hitters from each side of the plate. And a changeup that when he gets it right, looks amazing and is a really good weapon against left-handed batters that he can use between 10 and 15% of the time in the individual start. But despite that good stuff, the results early in his career have been very bad. He had a very difficult start to his career by facing the Yankees in his debut at home, which another big thing that works against Burns is pitching in Great American Ballpark as his home park, because one of the best hitters parks in the league. That first start against the Yankees, though, was totally fine. He got through it. But then his second start, after getting the Yankees at home, he had to travel to Fenway Park to take on the Red Sox. And that was a disaster. He allowed 5 hits and 7 runs, only 5 of them earned, but only got 1 out in the process. It was just really bad. Total disaster of a game. Then after those first 2 starts, Yankees and Red Sox, he had to go to Philadelphia to face the Phillies with Zach Wheeler on the mound. And he actually stood up to Wheeler. He pitched better than he did in those first 2 starts. He gave his team a chance to win the game. The command was all right. Like, it was something that we thought we could build on here. Because then he went home for the first good matchup of his career, a home start against the Rockies, and he was dominant in this one. Besides for a 2-run home run by Ryan McMahon right in the middle of this outing, Burns was pretty much unhittable. Before that McMahon home run, he had struck out 6 batters across 3 innings with 11 swings and misses. Then in the 4th inning, he walked the leadoff batter, and Ryan McMahon crushed a hanging curveball for a 2-run homer. Funny enough, that was one of only 2 curveballs Burns threw that entire outing, a pitch he's barely thrown in the big leagues this year. Then, after that home run, he retired 9 of the final 10 batters he faced in this whole game, and that one batter that reached base was a measly infield single. Again, Burns was utterly dominant, but you kind of should be dominant in a home start against the Rockies with this kind of stuff. But again, just seeing him get to that spot, seeing him pitch to that capacity, that kind of lets that tantalizing potential seep in to think about what Burns can be over the final few months of this season if things coalesce. But then he just came back after the All-Star break and got hit hard by the Nationals, a team you do not want to get hit hard by. And the worst part about that National start is the way that Burns unraveled in it. He cruised through the first 3 innings, then Josh Bell got him for a solo home run in the 4th, then he gave up back-to-back doubles in the 5th to put 2 more runs on the board. So again, he still threw 5 innings with only 3 runs on the board while getting tons of strikeouts. Things seemed okay. But he comes back out for that 6th inning. I give Terry Francona some credit for trying to push him. I think that's good for a young pitcher with Burns' potential. Get back out there, see if you can, get tough, build up that stomach. But he imploded in that 6th inning with a walk, a double, a walk, and then a single that wound up scoring 3 after an error that chased Burns. So again, his final line is 5 2/3, 5 runs, but then 10 strikeouts on top of it. So again, you're just seeing both sides of the same coin. You're like, you can be so good. You can be so great. I see it right there. We just have to tighten it up a little bit. And that is what's putting Burns on this list for me. It's these glimpses of dominance. It's seeing what that stuff can look like. It's understanding the pitcher he can be when that command is actually on. And even if the command is not on, still being a great pitcher because the stuff is so good, it will miss bats in the zone. I am betting on Burns for the second half of the season. I'm ignoring that 6.65 ERA. I'm thinking about the talent. I'm seeing the stuff. I want him on my teams. And if we can catch lightning in a bottle, it can just change your entire league. He can be a guy that you can wind up relying on through these next few months of the season. At the end of the day, this might be the boldest take I've said in the last few months on this channel. I don't know if Burns and Jacob Mizorowski could really be that different because that's how similar the stuff actually is. Next, we have another guy that's flown just so far under the radar over the last few weeks. It's Spencer Arrighetti, starting pitcher on the Astros. He came into the season as a bit of a buzzy breakout pick. I myself named him as one of my breakout starting pitchers heading into the year, mostly because I really loved what I saw from him during the second half of his rookie season last year when he had a 3.18 ERA and 78 strikeouts over 65 second half innings. Imagine if we get something like that again. Good breakout pick for the second half. But also, I just love the mix of his breaking balls, having his curveball and his sweeper that had similar amounts of horizontal movement on them, but the curveball having significantly more drop. Good way to fool hitters. Also, during spring training, he was messing around with a new sinker that I thought could really offset some of the fastball issues he has against right-handed batters. Similar exactly to what teammate Hunter Brown did last year, not throwing as hard, not calling him the next Hunter Brown, but a similar adjustment made by the same team, so you keep those things in mind. And then also, he still mixed in the cutter, which also kind of offset those fastball issues against the righties, plus the changeup for lefties. It was just a deep pitch mix. It was a guy who seemed cerebral on the mound, lots of weapons, could use a lot of different things and a lot of different counts. I just loved what I saw from Arrighetti and thought he was someone that was going to make a very logical next step in his progression as a player. But then he had a really bizarre freak injury towards the beginning of April, where he was out in the outfield having a catch while his team was having batting practice, and he got hit by a line drive on his throwing hand in his thumb that fractured his thumb, and he's been out since then with that. It's funny also, at the time, the Astros said he'd only miss about 6 weeks, but we know that we can't trust the Astros with any injury designations whatsoever. So now it's been over 3 months, and finally we're getting Arrighetti back soon. And people love talking about injury stashes this time of year. Someone like Grayson Rodriguez, who's been out since spring training with a really significant lat strain. Kyle Bradish, Grayson's teammate on the Orioles, who had Tommy John surgery middle of last season. He's finally starting to throw again. Even a guy like Shane McClanahan, who had Tommy John surgery, came back, got injured in spring training, tricep nerve irritation, bizarre injury for guys injured all the time. Seemed like he was finally coming back again, and then he just had another setback. It really just goes to show you how little we can trust these stash type players that we talk about a lot, working their way back from significant injuries. But that's not the same case with Arrighetti, because I'm talking about these guys having major arm, muscle, tissue injuries, requiring serious surgeries in some cases. Arrighetti had a fracture in his thumb. You just gotta give that a lot of time to heal. And they gave it a lot of time to heal, over 3 months. And now he's been throwing high-intensity bullpen sessions for about a full month now, and he just made his first rehab assignment a few days ago at AA Corpus Christi, where he struck out 4 batters over 3 innings and allowed just 1 base runner. And the biggest thing, again, with long-term bullpen sessions now for Arrighetti and making that rehab start, it just seems like he's healthy. With that thumb, the concern when a guy's coming back is whether or not they can grip the baseball and whether or not they can throw velocity, grip it hard, especially a guy like Arrighetti who has so much spin. That's kind of how he wins. But if he was doing those bullpen sessions, throwing every single pitch, now the team's comfortable with him in a rehab start. Seems totally healthy for me. And with him being healthy, he's very solid, he's overlooked, he has upside, he's going to jump right back into his Astros rotation that's going to provide great defense behind him, give him tons of chances to win games. I think Arrighetti, similar to how I viewed them at the beginning of the season, is definitely a fringy top 50 pitcher, stretching in towards the top 40 range, top 35 range from the second he's healthy, which should be in a few weeks now, through the end of the year. Now we have one more pitcher coming up on the big list, but again, stick around after the big list because I have 6 more guys who I think can be breakouts the second half, specifically geared to slightly deeper leagues. But last guy on the big list, another Astro, is starting pitcher Brandon Walter. Crazy also how much Walter is flying under the radar, but I think that's because he's just a soft tossing, sidearming lefty with a lot of junk. He's a 3.66 ERA with a 25% strikeout rate and measly 1% walk rate through a half season of play. That 1% walk rate is one of the lowest in all of baseball. And this is also a funny callback for me because I put Walter in one of my weekly waiver wire videos basically exactly a month ago when he was pitching really great, had made 3 or 4 starts at that point, tons of strikeouts, no walks, similar to what he's done after. But literally, the day that video came out, he got absolutely lit up by the Angels for 7 runs. And you guys got on me in the comment section for that. But funny looking back, that start he made against the Angels the day that video came out is his only game this entire season that has not been in Coors Field where he gave up more than 2 earned runs. So I think we can safely say Brandon Walter, good waiver wire guy to pick up. But now I'm doubling down on that, telling you guys to take a look at Walter again right now if he is still on your wire. Because he's been so good for this Astros team completely out of nowhere, as their rotation has been decimated by injuries from their middle guys. I know Hunter Brown and Framber Valdez in the top have been steady and just downright incredible, but Hayden Wesneski, Ronel Blanco, Spencer Arrighetti, who I've talked about, all of those guys who were meant to be at least in that opening day rotation or just on the outside of it have been out basically the entire season. And Walter has steadied things, but even amazingly how Walter has steadied things considering where he came from to join this Astros rotation, he was DFA'd by the Red Sox last season when he was struggling with a rotator cuff strain. The Astros signed him 2 weeks later and have really just kind of manipulated a lot of his pitches just a little bit to coax a little bit more out of him. Again, it's a funky side-arming lefty with really, really good command, a lot of different pitches that he throws. And of all those different pitches he throws, it's mostly a very east to west profile, again, because his arm slot is so low. It's a fastball, it's a cutter, it's a sweeper, it's a changeup, it's a sinker. And lefties really have no chance against him, because when he's coming from that sidearm action, that sinker and that sweeper, they move so much in such different directions, they're completely powerless. And then against the righties, he does a really good job of mixing up his cutter and his fastball, moving them around the zone, really working the edges well with that amazing command to keep them off balance, and then finding spots to bury that sweeper again on their back foot, because that is his best pitch, while mixing the changeup on top of it as well. It is just a really good, full, totally stable pitch mix that for a left-handed pitcher, it's enough to get the righties out and just completely crush the lefties, like I said. I very much straight up just think that Walter is good. While the Astros have a lot of starting pitchers on the men set to rejoin their rotation soon, like we just talked about Arrighetti, Christian Javier, Luis Garcia, they're both making rehab starts as well. I think Walter is good enough to outlast those guys. He's better than Lance McCullers, who I think could get bounced from this rotation. And we're not exactly sure the roles that Javier or Garcia will have when they are eventually healthy. It might just be more of getting those guys ready for the postseason. So I think we can trust Walter moving forward. Trust that stuff, trust that sweeper, trust that changeup, trust that cutter, trust the command, trust the junk, and get a really sneaky pitcher on the bottom of your guys' roster that you could play matchups down the stretch and you will not want to drop. Now that's the end of the big list, but I'm going to leave you guys with some honorable mentions, especially if you guys that play in slightly deeper leagues where the 5 guys I mentioned probably are not available and some of them probably can't even trade for. You can't buy low at this point. First up, Joey Cantillo. He was a popular pickup this week as a 2-star pitcher. He's a lanky lefty. He's got big time extension and he's got a great changeup that never goes out of style. He just had an okay start against the Orioles where he struck out 5, walked 4, but he gave up like no hard contact. Cantillo is someone that was up and down last year, finally getting a full-time shot in this Guardians rotation. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. Then Cade Horton on the Cubs, a pitcher I've talked about a few times on this channel this season. The cut fastball and the sweeper, I didn't think I'd like it that much going in, but I kind of like it now. When he's able to place that cut fastball and get the lefties out, it's good. But the command has gone in and out, and as mostly a 2-pitch pitcher, he has been susceptible to the home run ball. But I can see Horton going on a hot streak through the second half. Then Michael Soroka on the Nationals. He might get traded this week, which could help him a lot, because we just need something to hide that fastball. The slurve is missing tons of bats, and overall, he's getting tons of strikeouts, not walking many batters, but that fastball does get hit hard, so be advised. Then we got Cam Schlittler on the Yankees. A bit of an injury scare coming out of the break, got pushed back, finally pitched again on Tuesday. The velocity was down a little bit, not having the crazy adrenaline pumping after his debut. And we did see that kind of taper down the swing and miss in his game. Also, something I've been looking at with Schlittler, using his curveball, which used a lot in the minor leagues, to try and get left-handed batters out at the major league level, because he has the fastball and the slider. Great against righties, okay against lefties. Weirdly enough, that curveball, which I kind of hypothesized, talking about him in the waiver wire video a few weeks ago, I thought the hitters at the major league level would see it, not chase it. He threw it about 20% of the time to left-handed batters in that start on Tuesday, and got 0 swings outside the strike zone, only a handful of whiffs. So that's something he's going to have to get past if he wants to be really effective at this level. But upper 90s velocity with a really good slider. Great package to bet on, again, if you're looking to catch lightning in a bottle. Then Richard Fitz, similar idea. He throws hard, sits above 96, and mixes a slider, a sweeper, and a curveball. It's a package, it's a repertoire that we like. We don't like the ballpark. We haven't liked the results so far, but he's a guy you could really see going on a heater if he can just massage it all in a little bit. Then lastly, we have to mention him because if he comes up, he's a difference maker. Bubba Chandler on the Pirates. Please, Pirates, please call him up. He's ready. He has the stuff. I know we just had another not so good start in AAA, but he is so ready. He should have been in this rotation in April. Call him up. Let him help, please. But all right, guys, that's the end of the video. Again, thank you so much for watching, being here with me all season. If you guys are watching and you like what you're seeing, you don't want to miss any of the new videos coming out on the channel, especially not the big waiver wire videos going to come out this weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, depending on my schedule. I got to schlep all the way to Staten Island for a christening Saturday morning, so we'll see how it all works in. But click that big black button down there. Subscribe to the channel. Lots of great stuff coming out next few weeks through the end of the season. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you don't miss anything. But again, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time.